It was a rainy Tuesday morning in Chicago, the kind of morning when strangers just brush past one another, eyes glued to their phones, inside one of the city's most prestigious shopping malls. However, the air was thick with tension. The millionaire real estate tycoon, Richard Olston, held court behind his massive glass desk. Known for his sharp business instincts and an even sharper tongue, Richard's patience was wearing thin as he reviewed declining sales reports. When his assistant announced a young woman without an appointment was asking for a meeting, he didn't even look up. 5 minutes, he grumbled, waving his hand. That's all she gets. The young woman who stepped forward was nothing like the polished executives who usually filled that office. She wore simple jeans, a plain gray shirt, and sneakers that had seen better days. She carried no designer bag, just a simple file folder. Richard barely glanced at her before smirking. "If you're here about a store complaint, talk to management," he said, already turning back to his papers. But the young woman, Emily Carter, shook her head gently. "I'm not here to complain," she said softly. Then she spoke the words that would change everything. "Sir, I'm the new owner of this shopping mall." For a single heartbeat, the room fell silent. Then Richard Holston laughed. It wasn't a polite chuckle, but a loud, confident, careless laugh that echoed off the glass walls. His management team nervously joined in, eager to please their boss. But Emily didn't flinch. She simply folded her hands and waited, steady as stone, holding a secret that would soon silence them all. When the laughter finally died down, Emily spoke again, her voice calm and unwavering. "May I tell you a short story first?" Richard, still smirking, leaned back in his chair. 2 minutes, he said. Emily nodded and began. 7 years ago, I was a broke college student. My father had passed away, and my mother was sick. One winter, my mother collapsed right here, in this very mall. We couldn't afford treatment, and security asked us to leave. The men in the room started to shift uncomfortably. "But one person didn't ask us to leave," Emily continued. "A man in a suit stopped and helped us. He paid for the ambulance and told me something I've never forgotten. He said, 'Money is loud, but kindness echoes longer.'" Richard's smirk slowly faded as a strange recognition flickered in his eyes. Emily reached into her folder and slid a single document across the desk. "That man was my grandfather," she said quietly. "You knew him as Samuel Carter." The name landed like a thunderclap. Richard Holston froze, his face draining of color. Samuel Carter was a legend in real estate, a quiet, generous man who believed in helping people without cameras or headlines. He had been Richard's mentor decades ago, the one person who believed in him when he was just a struggling young man with big dreams. Emily continued, her voice gentle but firm. "Before he passed away, he put his assets into a trust. He told me that one day I would inherit this mall, but only if I promised to lead with kindness." Richard stared at the document, his hands trembling. At the bottom was a signature he knew all too well, the elegant script of Samuel Carter. The room was silent again, but this time no one dared to laugh. Richard slowly stood up, his arrogance crumbling. This can't be real," he whispered. Emily met his eyes with compassion, not triumph. "It is," she said softly, "and I'm not here to fire anyone. I'm here to change how this place treats people." Something shifted inside Richard Holston that day. Memories flooded back of a younger version of himself, hopeful and desperate for a chance, and of the kind old man who had given him that chance. "I lost my way," Richard said quietly, his voice thick with emotion. "Somewhere along the line, I forgot." Emily smiled gently. "It happens. That's why kindness matters." In the months that followed, the mall transformed. Employees were treated with respect. Small local businesses were given fair leases. A relief fund was created to help workers during hard times. Sales rose, but more importantly, so did trust and community. Richard stayed on, not as the boss, but as a partner, learning to lead with a heart he thought he had lost. One afternoon, Richard watched from a distance as Emily knelt to help a janitor who had dropped his supplies. She didn't know anyone was watching. She simply helped because that was who she was. In that moment, Richard understood something powerful. Kindness doesn't announce itself. It doesn't wear expensive clothes or demand attention, but it can change lives, legacies, and even hearts that thought they were too hard to break. So the next time you feel invisible, the next time someone laughs at you, remember this story, because one act of kindness can echo further than wealth ever will. And you never know, the person you choose to respect today might be the one who changes your world tomorrow. If this story touched you, please share it and help keep the light of kindness shining. Thanks for watching.